Good afternoon, friends, and welcome back. Today I am going to be running through a banana bread recipe for you, and this is called a quick bread because it relies on a chemical leavener to rise. Um, I have my ingredients laid out here today. I've got my recipe, my instructions on the board behind me, which I'm going to be checking off as we go through. Just to have these proper systems in place is a good thing to be able to operate. First things first. Just gonna double check, make sure my ingredients have been visually, it looks like the right measurements of each of my ingredients. You've already been checking off as you're going with your ingredients. Um, got my eggs here. Okay. Okay, we've got everything that we need to produce our recipe. I'm gonna start by turning on the oven, 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, perfect. That's 325 degrees Fahrenheit. I need a loaf pan for this recipe today. And the way that I'm going to prepare the loaf pan, and I'm going to do this while the oven is heating, is using a clean paper towel. I'm going to take some butter that I have portioned out. It's room temperature, it's very soft. I'm going to use this to grease the pan. Often in class, we're going to be using a spray, cooking spray, a spray oil, because it's a lot more cost effective than using butter. But unfortunately, for today's demo, I have butter, so that is what I'm going to be using. So with the butter, just get a really nice, even coat. You want to make sure that you are using enough because the last thing you want to do is be trying to take a loaf out of a loaf pan and have it just sticking all different sections of it. So this is just a really nice greased pan here. Now, a second step, and this I use for this recipe, I like the way it falls out of the pan, is I'm going to be just using some flour that I've pre-measured and doing a very light coating of flour into the pan. Don't know if you can see that well here, but just kind of putting the flour in. This you can do or you cannot do, either or. But just want to get a little bit of a layer, just a very light dusting of flour. That's going to stick to the butter. Okay, and any remaining flour that I don't spill on the floor, I'm just going to pour out. Okay, so I've got my loaf pan nicely buttered with nice flour, if you can see that. I'm going to put that to the side here now. All right, so in my large mixing bowl, I have got measured out my oil and my maple syrup. So first step is, after preheat the oven, is you're going to beat the oil and maple syrup together using a whisk. I've got my whisk hand here. So what you want to do with this is really kind of start a little emulsifying of the oil and the maple syrup. You're going to see it really blends together quite nicely. So you're just going to kind of keep going with that. In the winter, I've noticed sometimes when it's when the maple syrup is quite cold and the oil gets quite warm from being above my stove here, the oil, it will start to solidify. So if it does start to get a little bit too solid, you can always just pop it in the microwave for a quick second. But for today, this is looking really nice. You can see there. So that is a great mix. I'm quite happy with that. All right. So next, we're going to add the eggs and beat well. For beating well, we're going to use our hand mixer. Sorry, just to keep going here, friends. So I have a bowl here. I've got my eggs. I'm just going to crack that on the counter. You remember, for breaking our eggs into a separate container so that we don't have any shells accidentally getting into our final product. There, breaking on a flat surface, opening that up, and if I did drop any shells in, I would use another little piece of shell to scoop that out. Perfect. Okay, so I am going to add my eggs into our mixture here. Remove my whisk, I'll take that into my cake. Using our electric mixer. You remember from the video, we're going to insert the tools that you're choosing to use for this, which I am using my beaters. Once it's plugged in, once your pieces are in, you can turn it on. You're not touching anywhere near here. Now, I am going to unplug my mixer. I am going to eject my beater, put down the mixer, and we will get rid of these sink. All right. So you can see my consistency here. I've got the eggs, I've got the maple syrup, and I've got the oil. To that, I'm going to add my bananas and my vanilla, which are all measured out here. Back to using the whisk to mix that in together. Next, I'm going to add my water, my half a cup of water. Perfect. All right, that is looking great. Perfect. With that recipe, with that combined, I've got my wet ingredients, I've got my dry ingredients separate. So I've got my flour measured out. To the flour, I am adding my cinnamon and salt that is measured out. To that, I am adding my baking powder. And now, my dry ingredients I have here. Using a wooden spoon, I'm just going to very slowly mix this in, just bit by bit, incorporating it into your recipe. You don't want to overmix. We've learned already. When you overmix a quick bread, you end up just breaking apart so much gluten that it just gets a really tough consistency. You want to really kind of keep that gluten not stretched, not overworked, just something really, really lightly mixed. Some lumps are going to be okay in that. It's just a nice way to mix that together. I can see it's really coming together now. As soon as the dry ingredients are incorporated, like right now you can see I've still got some flour that I can see visibly. Once I don't see that flour, even if there's lumps, that is when I'm done. So that is going to be mixed in enough. Beautiful. Okay, so I don't want to waste any of this gold. I'm going to use my rubber spatula to scrape off my wooden spoon. Get all of those nice batter off of that spoon because we don't want to waste a thing. Got my pan here. So I am going to very carefully pour my batter into the pan, and I'm going to use this rubber spatula to assist. The mixture is fairly thick, so you just kind of want to run along the pan. Make sure you're getting kind of a nice consistent density throughout. You don't want a bit thicker pile on one side and a bit thinner on the other. Really kind of want it to be even throughout. And again, make sure you're getting a really good clean bowl afterwards. Again, food costs are very high. We do not want to waste a thing. Beautiful. Now, I'm just going to smooth that on the top to make sure it is quite even. Bring that down. You can see we've got a beautiful banana bread mixture there. Okay, and at this point my oven should be preheated. I'm going to pop it right in. So just a quick little update. I have pulled my banana bread out of the oven. And I'm just going to show you the way that we tell it is finished. It's done. I've got a wooden toothpick here. I'm going to insert that toothpick into the banana bread, remove, and it comes out clean, so there's no cake or batter stuck to that. That's how I know my product is finished. And I'm just going to show you here. This is our finished product banana bread. If you recall, we were about halfway through with the batter, so that's really come up substantially. That's about twice the size height-wise as it was at the beginning. So that's from using our chemical leaveners. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy your own banana bread.